Hello friends, welcome back. Binary file management is most important in software development. There are multiple repository systems available in the market to store the artifacts of the binary files. Here in this video, we'll see how we can automate the continuous delivery process by writing the pipeline script in Jenkins to upload the artifacts into Sonatype Nexus repository. We'll see step-by-step process starting from the Nexus installations, repository creation, etc. So let's start. So first, let's see how we can install the Sonatype Nexus. I have an Amazon Linux 2 machine created. So let's copy the public IP and go to your terminal. Let's log into the machine. Before installing the Nexus repository, make sure that you have installed the Java 8 version. Okay, so here is the command. So in the Amazon Linux 2, you can just use yum package manager install, and this is the package name which needs to be installed, Java 1.8 or Java 8, right? Java 8 should be installed before installing the Nexus repository. Now you can see here, let's wait for some time. Okay, now you can see here Java has now been installed. Now let's download the Nexus package. So what we can use this particular command, wget command, to download this Nexus package. Make sure you should be as sudo user, right? Now you can see here our Nexus package, the tar file has been downloaded. See here the Nexus, right? So what you can do, we have to untar this file. So to untar this, we can use tar-xvf and the file name. Okay, as I said, we should be as sudo user, right? So it will, if you don't do, it will say permission denied, right? So sudo, we have the file now. See, this particular file has untarred or uncompressed. Now we have this Nexus file, right? This particular folder having all the files. What we can do now, we have to rename this file to the shorter form. So what we can do, we can just use sudo mb command to rename the file to a shorter form is Nexus, right? Now we can see here the Nexus folder has been renamed, and you can see here it's been the ownership is root user, right? So we have to change the ownership. So before changing the ownership, you must have to create the Nexus user. So to create the Nexus user, you can use sudo add user and the Nexus command here, Nexus username, right? So if I just give Nexus user here, if you hit enter, the user will be created. As I have already created, so it says the Nexus already exists, right? So what you can do here, as the Nexus user is created, you have to change the, you have to provide the password, right? To update the password, you can use sudo passwd Nexus. Hit enter. So it will, it will ask for the password, new password. Just provide the password. See the password I have now updated. Once the password is updated and the Nexus user is created, you have to change the ownership of the Nexus folder, right? So what you can do, use the chown command. Use the chown command to change the ownership. If I do check now here, see the ownership has now changed to Nexus. After that, what we have to do, we have to open this file, this opt nexus bin and nexus.rc, and we have to see it has only one variable called on underscore as underscore user. So we have to update this to run the server as Nexus user. So provide Nexus here. Okay, now save this file. After that, what we have to do, we have to simply create a soft link. So one soft link is created. Now what we can do, we can just change ourselves to, now what you can see here, we are the user as EC2 user. Now let's change ourselves to Nexus user, because we have to start the service as Nexus user. And just hit enter, give the password. Now you can see here I have now changed myself to Nexus user. If I do ID here command, you can see as Nexus user, right? Now what I can do after that, we can simply use the service command to start the Nexus. So you can see here it says starting Nexus service, right? So what you can do, let's check the status of this, whether it is running or not. Let's do the status check. Yeah, it's a check. So here it says Nexus is now running. Okay, so Nexus is now running. Okay, one more thing I would say, guys, the default port of the Nexus is 8081. You have to first make sure that the port for the 8080 is whitelisted in your security group of that server. So if you see here, I have already whitelisted this 8081 port. Otherwise, it will not work. So how we can access this server? Let's just copy the IP address, right? Just copy the IP address here, and what you can do, put it here, and 8081. This is the default port of the Nexus. Now we can see here my Nexus has already been installed successfully and it is initializing. Good. Now we are now landed into the Nexus repository manager, and this is 3.0.2 version. Okay. Now what we can do, after we just created it, what we can do, we can just go ahead and create the repository, right? First, let's go ahead and create the repository. Here we can see we have the component here available, where we have the repository components, and all these things will be available here. Now what we can do, we can just go ahead and create the repository, right? Before creating the repository, we have to log in the Nexus server. Otherwise, you'll not get this repository creations, the setting options, right? So let's sign in here. And remember, the default user to sign in the Nexus repository is admin, and the password is admin123. The password is admin123. So default login is admin and the password is admin123. Now let's log in. Never. So you can see here we logged in as admin user, and here we got another options, that server administration, right, and configurations. Just go ahead, and here we have all the options available to manage the Nexus repository. We have the security, we have the support systems and everything. Let's go ahead and create a repository first. We'll go ahead, create repository, and you have to select what type of recipe do you want for your project. So for our case, it will be Maven 2 hosted, as we are going to use the Java project, right? And will be used Maven to build it. We are going to use Maven 2 hosted, and give a repository name. It should be unique. I'll give as login wave of the repository name, right? So you have to check this one. If checked, the repository accept incoming request, and version policy, whether release snaps are done. So let's select as mixed, and layout policy. So it should be let it be strict here, and the storage, let's select as default, and all these things is selected strict, and deployment policy. Okay, so what is Sage controls if the deployment of any updates to the artifacts are allowed. Okay, controls if deployments and updates to artifacts are allowed. So you have to select as allow redeploy. If you want to redeployment, right, to re-upload the artifacts into the repository, so you can have to select it allow redeploy. Now let's go ahead and create repository. See, we have now repository created, right? See, we have now the repository is created. Now let's go ahead and create a user to use that one in the script to connect to the server and upload the artifact. So how you can do that? You can just simply go to the, here you can see, go to the user section. Here in the security, go to the user section, and in this user sections, let's go ahead and create one user, and just provide this will be used as the username, right? Let's give us Jenkins, first name as also Jenkins, last name let's give us Jenkins. So Jenkins at gmail.com, something like this. The user email ID you have to provide, and the password. Confirm the password. Jenkins status active, and here you have to choose Nx admin, and you have to grant access to this role. This role you have to add here in the granted section. Now let's go ahead and create user. Now you can see here we have this Jenkins user is created, and we can use this Jenkins user and the password to connect to the Nexus and upload the artifact from the Jenkins pipeline. Now guys, you saw how we can install the Nexus repository and create the repositories, also created the users. Okay, now what we can do, now let's go ahead and write the pipeline script. I have the repository created where all my projects are available here in my GitHub repository. So it's called, the application, the project name is login web app. Okay, so if I just go here, I have a branch called Nexus upload. You can see here I have 3 branches: master, Ansible 1.1, and the Nexus upload. Just go to this Nexus upload, and here what you have to do, you have to write the Jenkins file. In the project folder, normally you have to write the Jenkins file, right? So here in the project folder, in the main folder itself, I have written the Jenkins file. Let's click this Jenkins file, and here what we have done here, as I said, it is a Java project, right? So I have just retained the, I'll just explain you step by step this pipeline. Before that, what we need, you can see here in the tools sections, we have 2 tools available here. One is the local Maven, Maven 2, another one is the JDK. So remember, this project actually been designed to be built on the Java 8. Okay, and make sure that your server where you are building this project has the Java 8 installed, and also you should have the Maven installed. Okay, now let me show you where you have to do that. Go to your Jenkins first. Okay, go to your dashboard and manage Jenkins, and the tools section, right? In the tools sections, you can see here I have in the JDK, I have if I just go to the JDK section here, I have JDK Java 8 is installed. I have Java 8 is installed, right? So what you can do here, Java 8 is installed already, and if I just go little below here, I have the Maven also. You can see here the Maven installation is also done and is kept in the opt Maven folder on my Jenkins server, So these things to be installed in your Jenkins server, right? Now so the local Maven is installed, and this is the Maven name, and Java 8. Okay, JDK Java 8 is installed, right? This is the Java 8 path. Make sure that you have installed first and provide everything in the tool sections. After that, what we can do, okay, one more thing, guys. Before that, also, you should have installed the plugin. So these are the plugins required. One is the Nexus Artifact Uploader. The other one is the Pipeline Utility Steps. Okay, so if I just go ahead to the Manage Jenkins again and go to the plugins, right? In the plugin sections, if I go my installed plugins, so for your case, you have to go to the available plugins and search for that plugins which you need to install. So I already have installed those plugins. So if I just go to the installed plugin section here and just search for Nexus, you can see here Nexus Artifact Uploader. This has already been installed. And similarly, I have this pipeline utility steps that also been installed. Okay, this is required before we write the pipeline. So because if you don't have installed these things, it will not work, right? Now let's go ahead and see the pipeline script what is written here. Now in the tool sections, I've given this Maven, and you can see the local Maven, the name of the Maven installations in the tool sections of the Jenkins, right? Next, in the environment sections, you have to provide this Nexus underscore version, which is the Nexus version. It could be Nexus 2 or Nexus 3. In our case, it is Sonatype Nexus 3, right? And we have this Nexus protocol. So we don't have HTTPS protocol, so we are just using HTTP protocol to use it. And this is a Nexus URL, and you have to make sure which URL you have used to the IP address where you have installed the Nexus, that IP address or the domain name, you have to provide it here. So let's edit this domain name, because in our case the Nexus repository, right, this is the Nexus repository and this is the IP address where the Nexus is installed. So let's copy this particular part, go to here, edit it, let's edit this one, okay, and remove this particular part, it's not required. So we have this IP address here, colon 8081. This is the Nexus URL and the repository. So we have created this login web app repository, right? If I go ahead and check here, right, in my repository sections. So we have this login web app, the same exact spelling, exact repository name, you have to provide it here. So we have this login web app, and this is the Nexus credentials you have to create. We have to create one Nexus credential. Let me show you how we'll create the Nexus credentials. Right now, just delete it, and what we can do, you have to provide the credential ID name. Right, let's go to the, so this Nexus credential ID to be created in the Jenkins. Right, so let's go to the manage Jenkins here, and if I just go to the credential sections, right, manage Jenkins credential sections, and here we have, I have already created. Let's delete this one, I'll show you from the scratch. So what we can do, let's go add credential here, use this username with password, give the username. So the default username is admin. So I can use the Jenkins username also, right? The Jenkins username, whatever you have created, you can use it here also. But let me use this admin user and the default password admin 123. You have to provide the ID name here. Suppose I'll provide Nexus credentials, right? Credential, Nexus credential, something like this, and give a description, Nexus credentials, create. Now we have this ID Nexus credential is created. So we need this Nexus credential ID to be given in this Nexus credential ID field, right? So I Nexus credential. Okay. Make sure the exact spelling, whatever you have given, you just write it there, Nexus credential, right? Nexus credential. Now this part, environment part, is most required, right? Nexus version, protocol, URL, and ID, repository, everything is required in order to connect and upload the artifacts. Now I have written different stages of this. Let me explain you. The first is very simple, to check out the project, this login web app, which I'm going to use it. So you can have to provide it, and I'm using the Maven tool to build it. So next stage is to Maven build. It's a very simple stage. Now let's see about this most important part, is publish to Nexus, like upload the artifact to Nexus. So here you can see I have used the pipeline utility, right? I was telling you that pipeline utility steps. There are this particular method, this particular step, right? Read POM XML file using read Maven POM step. If you don't have this utility step, right, pipeline, you will get error. It will throw errors, right? So make sure that you have installed that plugin. So once you get installed that plugin, you'll find this particular POM, this Maven file. What it is doing, actually, it is just reading the pom.xml file and getting all the information, required informations. So what we are getting the file's name and then artifact path, right? Checking whether the artifact is available, and lots of filtrations will be there, right? Now after that, once you check if the artifacts exist, then just use this particular part to upload the artifact. Here I am using Nexus artifact uploader method or API. Okay, so here in this method, what we are using, this Nexus version. So the Nexus version, we have given it here, right? Nexus version is Nexus 3. The same variables being used here, protocols, Nexus URL, and the group ID. So the group ID is getting filtered from this pom.xml file. So if you can see here, this pom.xml file, right? Let's first let's open in another. Okay, in this pom, I'll just explain you this pom.xml file. Okay, if you just go ahead here, you can see that pom.xml group ID and the version and the repositories and all, right? Let's open this in a new. This is not opening. Uh, okay, fine, it's fine. Let me just explain you just a little later here. Then the repository, Nexus credential ID. Okay, and here the artifacts which needs to be uploaded. So artifact fact and the artifact ID. Based on that, it will just upload the WAR file generated as part of the build. So this particular artifacts you need to be uploaded, right? So this is a simple script written, and this is a simple stage. Using this, you can upload the artifact into the Nexus artifactory, okay, or Nexus repository. Now let's commit this because we have done some changes to this file, right? Let's commit the changes, commits. Okay, now I was showing you about this pom.xml file, right? I was showing you about this pom.xml file, right? So let's go to this pom.xml. You can see here we have this group ID, right, which will get filtered by the method whatever artifact ID, this login web app, and the version is given as 1.0 snapshot, packaging var, right? And here all the details available here, the group ID, all these things will be filtered out from this pom.xml file. That's all. Now you can see here the Jenkins file is ready. So once you prepared this Jenkins file, let's go ahead and create a job to run this and upload this automatically. Now if I just go to the dashboard, let's go ahead and create a job, new item. Here suppose I'll get it as login web app project, or I can just give as Nexus upload. So the project or job name I gave it as login web app Nexus upload. Select pipeline, okay, and here descriptions, it's up to you whatever descriptions you provide. Let's directly move into this pipeline script from source code management and git, right? We have to use this repository URL. You have to use the repository URL. So let's copy the repository URL. Let's go here, and this is the repository URL which we need to use it, right? Go to code section here, copy this repository URL, paste it here, and it will not ask for any credential because it is public repository. Okay, so if it is private repository, and definitely it will ask for the credentials, and you know how to add the credentials and use it. So once the repository URL is added, so you have to choose the branch, which branch you need to build, need to execute, right? So here in our case, we need to build this Nexus upload feature / Nexus upload branch. So write it line feature / Nexus upload. So this is the branch we are going to build it, right? So Nexus upload here, make it sure that is correct, Nexus upload. Done. Now what you can, and the script part is the Jenkins file. Now let's save it. Okay, so it's now saved. The job is created. Now let's build it. Let's see the progress. So it is now doing the building, right? So if you can just go ahead and check the progress here. See the progress, what it says, the checkout, Maven build and publish to artifact. The job is now success. Is successfully uploaded. So if I go ahead and check the logs here, go down. So the build section is successfully done, and it generated the login web of var file and the workspace in the target folder. Now if I just go ahead below, and you can see here this particular has been uploaded into the Nexus repository. This is the repository name and has been uploaded into the Nexus repository. What is uploading artifacts login web is completed. Now let's check and verify whether it is uploaded or not. Let's go to the repository, go here to the component sections, right? Click on the components, and we have this login web of repository, right? Just click on this. So now you can see here we have this login web of folder is uploaded, created and the var file is uploaded. See, we have this particular file, that var file login web with version 1.0, and all this with the timestamp it is uploaded. So you can see here today, right, July 20, at this time particular is updated and file size is 3 MB. Now you can see the file is available this way. Now if I just go ahead and rerun the job, let's rebuild it. Let's see, we are going to redeploy, right? So let's build it again and just wait for a few seconds, let it complete. See, the job is success now, and it is uploaded successfully. Now if I just go ahead and just refresh this page, we'll see another folder or another var file is uploaded, another artifact is uploaded. So this is the new timestamp where it is uploaded, 16, right? Click on this, see, this var file is uploaded. I hope you understood clearly how we can work with Nexus repository, right? Starting from the scratch installations, you saw how we installed the Nexus repository, how we created the repositories and the users, and how we just explained, we just saw how to write the pipeline script and created the job and the required tools, plugins, everything. Hope you understood clearly. If you have any doubt or any concerns, please do write me in the comment section below. I'll try to answer your queries. If you have not yet subscribed my channel, please do subscribe now so that you'll get notified when I add more videos on my channel. Thank you.